And now, more Utalk. Now,
our guest on the show today was adopted at the age of 4 months old from South Korea to America, and she was raised by Chinese American parents in New York City. What a change is that? We're going to talk to her about that. She's a hip hop artist and MC. She's a teaching artist. She's got so much going on. It is so cool. With this teaching assistant thing that she does, this educational organization, it's called Thrive, and she brings, I should say they, but she's part of it. They bring murals and music and media into New York City public schools. We're going to want to find out about that. And there she is. Welcome. He's on Utalk. Let's just go from right from the beginning. You're a hip hop MC. You're not only an artist, you're an MC. For those that are not familiar with hip hop culture and music, what is that? And also, how did you get started?
So an MC is pretty much somebody who raps,
Okay.
Yeah, that's all it is really, MC. How I got started is pretty, there's a lot going on there. But yeah, I started when I was always into hip hop. I mean, growing up in New York, it's just a done deal kind of thing. Yeah. That's where hip hop was birthed and everything. So yeah, I just always listened to it. I was very into poetry and, being poetic, writing my own stuff. And then just listening to hip hop, writing poetry, just kind of put the two together. And then I just started writing my own stuff. I would record myself on like a little cheesy karaoke machine that I had. And then I would just listen to it. And I'm like, okay, I sound pretty decent. And then I would let other people hear it. Sure. And, they kind of gassed me up a little bit. So I was like, hey, why don't I try it? And it kind of just went from there. I just grinded. I found the right people to help me, trying to find my own beats and hitting up open mic spots.
Oh, nice.
A lot of grinding. Yeah. But I did it.
No, it's very cool because you've accomplished a lot. Do you remember where I'm going to say, first public appearance was?
Yes, my first public appearance, I did an open mic in Jamaica, Queens. So if anybody knows New York, Jamaica, Queens is, it's not, you don't see many people like me there. So I went out of my way. I wanted to rap so badly. So I went there. There was an open mic spot. And I remember I had a do-rag on. I had Tim's on. I thought I was something that I wasn't. I just rapped something that I had written. It was an instrumental that I found online. And I did it, I probably sounded horrible, but it was my first experience. I give myself credit for the fact that I did it.
For sure.
Yeah.
You had the courage to do it.
Right. I didn't realize how horrible I was or how I looked. I just wanted to do it, so.
No, very cool. Well, New York City is New York is just such an amazing place. And the city itself, I was in the Bronx a number of years ago, and I will never forget one experience. We were doing this outside thing, and the biggest human being I've ever seen in my life says, "Hey," it's like people parted. It's like the Red Sea's parting. And he goes, "Bro, what you be doing in my neighborhood?" And I thought, I'm going to die. This is going to be it. I'm going to die right here, right now.
Right.
This guy's just going to step on me like a mosquito or something.
I know.
It was crazy. We had a great time, And fortunately, one of the other hats I wear is a drummer, so I had been doing a thing on drums, and so that kind of gave me a little bit of, and it was like the audience was watching him to see, okay, is he going to squash this guy, or is this guy going to live through this experience? So,
right.
Well, of course, I guess you, having been adopted at 4 months, you have no recollection being able to compare South Korea and Staten Island. It's just
I don't have any experience other than me recently going back there. That would be my only way of just even knowing anything about Korea. I just have no recollection when I was born or anything.
Being so young like that.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend there recently?
So I went in 2017 for like a rap show there in Korea, and then I went again in 2019. I was there both times. I was there for about a week. It's just hard. Like, I'm there for music, so I couldn't really do anything personal. I was disappointed about, but, I knew why I was going. So I didn't want, I already knew my mission. But I do want to go back just to go for myself and for my family.
Sure. That's it. It's a great place. I had the chance to be there as well going into schools and doing some events and all, and loved it. I'd go back in a heartbeat. You know, I mean, it was a great experience. They welcomed this Italian guy from Southern California, you know, with open arms. I mean, it was, and I think again, that common language is music. Now you were there. I don't remember what year, but you competed in like a South Korea's big rap TV show.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, you were the only female from the U.S. there. Is that right?
Yeah, so they had auditions in New York and I think LA. Yeah, I think those were the only two cities they had it in, if I remember. And yeah, I was the only female from America that got onto the show. And it was great. I mean, they didn't take a whole bunch of, American people to begin with.
Sure.
So it was, I don't even know how many, maybe, I don't want to lie. It was probably not even 20 people from New York and probably the same amount from California. So they just wanted it was such a popular show that they're trying to branch it into the US because that's how many people were watching it here. But yeah, I think they did it 2 years. I think that was it. And then they stopped doing it, I guess budgeting and stuff. But yeah, just to be able to make it, you know.
No, I mean, I mean, again, another accomplishment, having the push and the motivation to intentionally get involved. Now, did you make it for 3 rounds? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, it was 3 rounds. It was very hard. One, I'm just nervous being on it's like the American Idol of hip hop there in Korea. It's a very popular show. So I know a lot of people were watching. So this is my first time on like doing something that big. And then it's all in Korean and I can't speak Korean. So that didn't really help me. So yeah, it's just a lot of things were going on. And that was my first time I ever came back to Korea since I was adopted. So I was going through things personally, trying to understand, wow, I'm in Korea right now. I had my whole family there. There was just a lot going on in my mind. And yeah, it was just very overwhelming. So I just blame it on that. I'm like, this is why I didn't go further. Had I been more prepared, just more mentally stable, I think I could have done better. But it just the experience itself.
Yeah, and you were there, you experienced it. It wasn't like you didn't make it. And making 3 rounds, that's pretty decent. You know, it's
yeah, and I got a lot of airtime. Like they highlighted my story a lot. They came from Korea. They actually came to my house and they interviewed me there because they were very intrigued by my story. So I think they kind of wanted me to go further, but I don't know how these shows go. Yeah. I think a lot of this stuff is planned. Like they kind of know what they're doing, like who they want to make it and who they don't. I don't know. Yeah, to this day, I'm still trying to figure it out.
No, you got to wonder it. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, in entertainment and broadcasting and, you know, things that we think are, I mean, there's some big radio shows here in Southern Cal and they do these, you know, like they'll call somebody up, you know, hey, you know, did you send roses to, you know, so-and-so, and supposedly they have his wife or girlfriend on, and, you know, you're going, hey, wait a minute, it's 7:30 in the morning. This is all too perfectly planned. And I have a friend that was on probably the biggest show, which will go unnamed, and he's going, hey, it's all scripted. He said, that's not real. You know, it's just, so you do wonder that in some of the comp shows and stuff. So I don't know, but I think it's cool that you made it. I really do. I think that's
awesome. In itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's an accomplishment. Now, your first album was entitled Redefined, followed by Stereotypes.
Yes.
Okay. And which actually was very cool. It reached number 7 on the iTunes Christian and Gospel charts. And I think it reached, was it 24 on Billboard Christian Gospel? Mm-hmm. That's some pretty significant numbers.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. Now, you did your third album titled Beauty to Ashes, highlighted personal challenges. Why that direction for that album?
Yeah, so Stereotypes was I was signed to it was a small Christian independent Christian label.
Okay.
And really based in New York, and it did well. I mean, they promoted it well. I got on a lot of pretty decent tours within the Christian hip hop community. So they did a lot for me, but then after that, I kind of went in my own direction. I left the label, and so my next album was Beauty for Ashes, and that's kind of just telling people my story of what I went through in my music career. Just from being a mother, getting signed, and then doing things on my own now, and then having a second child, and that I'm still here, I'm still grinding. And then I just felt like it was the right I think, topic to talk about. So Beauty for Ashes is pretty much saying, you know, that we're all from nothing, like God
Yes.
built us into something beautiful.
Yes.
And which is amazing. So that's how we should all feel like that about our life. But I specifically felt that about myself because I remembered where I came from, you know, being in foster care, being adopted, going down this rap career, being an Asian person in it, you know, the odds are against me.
Sure.
And all the stuff that I've experienced. And then I became a mother. And I specifically remember people telling me, you're going to be a mother, how are you going to rap and be signed to a label? And, you know, that bothered me. Like, even being on the label, to be honest, like, they didn't even want me to have a second kid right away because they felt like it would kind of deter. And I understand why. Like, this is the music industry. And so you're trying to promote yourself and your brand. And when you have kids, it kind of stops you from doing that. So I held back for a year, but then I finally wanted to have a second one. And then that's why I pretty much did that album. I wanted people to know that, hey, I have 2 kids. I did this album on my own, and I'm still here. So,
what do you say to people who? I mean, I love that title, "Beauty for Ashes," and that whole. I mean, you have gone through a lot, an awful lot, and there's more, you know, that we want to unpack there. In fact, I don't think we have time to talk about your whole story and everything you're doing. You know, but what do you say to somebody? Because you know, it's easy to have a pity party and say, oh, you know, I blah 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 blah, you know, and that's not to diminish anything that anybody is going through,
right?
Because everybody faces different challenges, everybody faces pain in a different way. We live in a very uncertain world right now. I mean, it's crazy. I got this news thing popping up on my phone when I was driving, you know, back today, and it says military planes are flying all over America, and I'm going, what is this? You know, of course, some of that stuff that you get, you know, is exaggerated, but what do you say to that person that is just they're so bummed. They feel like nothing is working, no matter what they try. People are against them. Like you know, the label is saying, hey, you know, it's bad enough you got 1 kid and you're going to add a second one to this, and you can't do this. And you're Asian in a entertainment music culture that's not typical.
Right.
I mean, you have endured a lot. How do we endure?
Yeah, that's a very, you know, it sounds cliche, but I mean, my faith in God has brought me through a lot of things, and just reading the word and staying firm in that. Not that I always have been, you know, I even struggle with that at times because I'm human, but for the most part, when you have that ground level where you can say to yourself, when all else fails me, when people are talking behind my back, or they're telling me you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to make it here, you can't do this unless you do this first. And when you're grounded in Bible verses and you keep telling yourself that you are worth more than what people are saying to you, when you have just even certain people in your corner, it doesn't have to be a lot, but you have people in your corner who will advocate for you, who will remind you who you are. These are just very important things, because I mean, it's even worse now than it was even in 2015 when I put this album out. But like, social media is even worse. There's just so many outlets, so many things are telling you stuff that you don't want to hear, and you want to shut your phone off and you don't want to listen, and you see what somebody else is doing, and then you feel even worse about yourself. So there's so many things going on that it's so easy to fall. It's so easy to not do something. And you really just have to have, I know it just sounds cliche, but at the end of the day, it's all in you. Like, if you don't push yourself, if you tell yourself what everybody else is telling you, or you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you're not going to do it. So, I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, even though I was able to do a lot of the things that I did, there's so many things that I did stop myself from doing that I do regret to this day. You know, it's not easy when you feel like you're by yourself, or you don't have enough strength or support to help, especially after I left the label. I'm like, wow, I'm going to do this by myself. I have no money. I mean, my husband has a job, but all I'm doing is music. And in order to make, it's so complicated, the music industry. You want to make money, but you have to give money to make it back. And when you don't have a lot of money to begin with, it's very hard. So a lot of this, again, going to keep sounding cliche, is leaps of faith. Like, you just do it. And sometimes you're not going to make the money back, but I'm telling you, like, even when I'm on these stages and I'm rapping and I'm not making a whole lot of money, but I'll have fans come up to me and they'll tell me how I changed their life, or just simple things that I did, or a song that they heard me rap on that it changed them. And that right there will just make me want to continue doing it. And it's not,
for sure.
those are the little things that just keep me going. It's persevering through that. When you can focus on the positive and hold on to that in the midst of all the negative things going on around you, it really makes a difference. And I mean, that's really just how I did it. I was just super, not positive, but I held on to what I believed was worth it, even though at times I wanted to fail.
No, and I think that's so important, understanding your purpose, because so many people just don't understand anymore. They're looking for it. There's this identity crisis in our culture, and all these messages coming at you from different places and people. And it's tough sometimes to shut it off, because I get to the point where I just don't want to tell anybody anything, because I'm tired of, well, you spend too much time doing this and you spend, and people don't, oh, well, you must be making all kinds of money because you're out there doing some of these shows and you were in the studio recording. What they don't know, I mean, I did several sessions and it was all spec, but we're waiting anxiously here because next week we should find out. One of the projects that I was on, has some possible traction, with the Recording Academy and the Grammys. So, but I didn't make any money doing it. I did it for spec, but it's a great opportunity. And when I have a chance to work with some amazing people, I'm going to do it. And people don't realize that. But, there's a couple things I really want to go back to that you said. One is somebody coming up to you and saying, hey, your lyrics really, that song really spoke to me. It helped me. I mean, I don't sing and you don't want me. Well, I should say I'm not really singing or rapping or anything else. But, when somebody comes up to you like that, and like I do assemblies in schools, and I'll have students come up to me and say, hey, dude, you saved my life.
Exactly.
And I'm going, what are you talking about? And some of them will say, hey, I was going home to kill myself, and I was all ready. And what you said to me today, that I'm valuable and I'm worth something and I have a purpose. I'm going to stick around, And the other thing you said about, it sounds so trite, and you're not just talking about some nebulous God somewhere. It sounds to me like you have a relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
And that, that's huge. That makes all the difference in the world. And all these, and going back to what you said about reading the Bible, it's such a simple, it's not rocket science. Yeah, it's hard to understand some of the things and the people and the relationships, but if you put your mind to it and take the time, and I think that's a challenge that a lot of people should take. And you keep coming back to your faith and what you believe in. That's rock solid. I mean, that is rock solid right here, right now, because there's times when everything's coming at you, everything's coming down. You feel that way anyway. Right. Who are you going to turn to? Where are you going to go? Yeah. Who's going to be there for you? And I love social media. I think it's a great tool. I think I mean, you can communicate a lot of things to a lot of different people, but it's ugly. It can be ugly too. And you really, I mean, I'll put this to you. How do you sort through these things?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, I mean, we all have our phone. It's always next to us and we pick things up. I mean, I just try, certain apps I just don't open. I just don't have, like even Instagram, like I don't follow too many pages, and I limit, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I do limit, but I'm still on it a lot. But, it's a lot of it is just, self-control. It's knowing that, you're reading things, you're getting, like, with me, I have one of my down things is that, like, I compare too much. That's why I was talking about that before. If I'm a female artist and I see other female rappers or even just rappers in general, and they're doing something really big, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been rapping for so long and I'm still here. Like, that gets to me sometimes. So a lot of me is trying to work on just being happy for that person, or, sometimes I just follow certain people. I'm not going to follow the whole world. And then so I can be jealous of everybody that I see. It's just knowing where to direct my attention to, and knowing what's most important that I know is going to affect me in a negative or a positive way. And it's just being able to filter what you want to see and what you don't want to see. And it's hard because sometimes like scrolling and then you just see something that you don't want to see, or you read something you don't want to read. And that's why it's so important, like as I was saying and you were saying as well, to have that foundation, to know what your worth is. So even if you're seeing things and they kind of like get to you a little bit, you remind yourself who you are, and you remind yourself that this is nothing, like, no, don't compare. You have no idea what that other person's like, all this stuff. Like, it's hard. Trust me. Like I go through it a lot. It's just knowing the foundation that you have and being able to have that self-control. So it's hard, especially my kids, my oldest daughter is 11, and social media is everywhere. So she's constantly seeing things, and I try and, put the parental controls on and stuff.
Sure.
I don't know. She just sees things, and the only option is to just completely take her iPad away. But it's just very scary. I don't let her on TikTok. She's not on any of that stuff, but I'm just very worried about the next generation because there's so much access to everything, and it's very scary.
I am too.
Out there.
It's too much information, and I mean, I gotta admit that you used the phrase self-control a couple times, and I think that's so critical because we've got to decide, and social media is important to what we do, with Utalk and everything else. But I really have to exercise more and more. I've been trying to self-control, put the phone down, put it on do not disturb. Okay, I'm going to turn it over now because then I won't even see something popping on my screen.
Right. Or because put it in another room.
Exactly. I mean, it's addictive, really. And I can find myself, I'll admit it, that all of a sudden I'm scrolling, and I'm scrolling. I look at the clock and go, oh, my soul. What have you been doing here, pal? It's just so we have to decide. We can't let, like you said, we can't let somebody else decide for us. And I think the whole key of knowing who we are, our self-worth, we are valuable, we aren't junk. And there's so many messages, and you start comparing yourself, and I'll find myself in that same vein. It's like, well, hey, how come? I mean, I've been doing this a long time. How come this guy, has this, or they have this, or, and you got to shut that down because it's self-destructive. I mean, it really is. I mean, we can talk about narcotics and, fentanyl and blah, 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 blah. But that whole battle for self-worth is very addictive and very destructive.
Right.
And you've got to have some people, I think, around you as well that it doesn't take a lot of them, but just some that are going to encourage you. They're going to lift your arms up. They're going to say, hey, what? And it's hard. I mean, I don't know about you, but I find it hard to find people that trust because you start talking to some people and it's like, okay, their eyes are wandering and they're, they pick up their phone, and I can multitask even though I'm a male, and, being a drummer, I've got to have four-way coordination, but, I realize that I noticed, I was a judge for a national drum-off competition, and I noticed other judges who would be on their phone when people are competing. And I'm thinking, and this is level one, and I'm thinking, that's rude. That bottom line is it's rude. Okay. Now this person may not be able to beat their way out of a wet paper bag, but you got to give them the creds for trying. Right. They had the guts to get up there and try, and I have respect for that. I don't have respect for somebody who's not paying attention to them and giving them, their due. And I think that's part of the problem in our culture today too, is we're so busy constantly having to have that feeling, that input, and it's addictive and it's destructive. It certainly can be. Okay, what's your website? I want to make sure we get some information out there so people can be in touch with what's going on.
It's actually newly renovated. So just heesunlee.com.
Okay, heesunlee.com. All right, good. We will put that in the notes for the show because I want people to be able to follow you and see what you're doing. All right, now you are I'm very intrigued with this because of what we're trying to do in schools, and maybe that's a conversation we have off air. But I love this concept of being a teaching artist with Thrive in New York City. Unpack that. What do you do? What's the organization all about?
So Thrive is, we're bringing hip hop into public schools all over New York City, so all the 5 boroughs. Cool. So what we do is we bring teaching, like me or any, it could be anyone who's within Thrive, and we go in there for however long they tell us to. It could be weeks, it could be months, and we just sit there. It could be an after school program, it could be during the school day.
Okay.
And you're just teaching them hip hop. You're teaching them how to rap, but there's so much more involved with it because people are just like, okay, they're just rapping, they're just having fun. But hip hop is just so much more than that because you're teaching them not only how to write, but which is important, but you're teaching them about poetry. You're teaching them life skills. So you're teaching them like, how do I put my thoughts and things that I'm going through, and I put it on a piece of paper because that is so hard for people to do.
Yes.
Like I didn't, because I'm an artist, so I just naturally like to write, but a lot of people can't do that. So if you're going through things, and especially these students, in elementary, middle school, like they're going through stuff, so able to write it out. And the songs that I've heard a lot of these students rap about is crazy. Like they'll talk about things that they're going through and that, maybe if they had never had this class, they wouldn't have been able to express it. And so their peers around them are hearing it. They're making music videos out of it, and they're inspiring other students through their lyrics. And it becomes like an addiction. Like, yo, this school did it. Now this school wants to do it because it's fun. Like hip hop obviously is so popular. And to bring it in a school where people are considering school, I don't know, to be boring because it's the basic. You're learning math, reading and stuff. But so to bring hip hop into schools, but in a positive light where you're educating students and you're helping them with life issues and things that they're going through and using it as a way to encourage them and the other classmates around them. So for me, you don't know much about the 5 boroughs. I live in Staten Island, so there's not much going on in Staten Island.
I was going to say.
Yeah, the Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, they get more traction. So we have a lot of teaching artists in the organization. So I only get certain gigs because I'm like in another world in Staten Island. But I've helped out in certain Brooklyn school. I've done like some online classes, and so I'm just waiting for more Staten Island schools to take part in this. But Staten Island's like in their own world right now. But I mean, it's amazing. Like I know a lot of the artists who are doing it, and I see the projects they're putting out, and it's really amazing. And to know that we can use hip hop in an educational way and to be able to help kids through that, I think it's an amazing thing. And I support it so much. So
that is so cool because I love getting into schools, and I bring my drums in and I talk about choices, and the drums is a great hook. I did switch things up though because it became counterproductive. When I first started doing it, I'd have my kit set up and I'd say, hey, who's the hottest drummer on campus? And you got some dude that struts his stuff down there. I said, come here. Show me your stuff, And he does something or whatever. I said, you mind if I sit down,
Yeah.
He goes, no, do it. And I play a little. He goes, dude, man, you're this middle-aged guy. You smoke me. You smoke me. And I thought, man, I just destroyed his self-image in front of the whole student body.
Right.
I thought,
that
ain't gonna fly.
I know.
No bueno, man. That ain't gonna work. But there's so much energy there. And when I'm able to do it, I'll go into classrooms and interact. And it's not exactly what you're doing, obviously, and it's only a one-shot deal. But there's so much energy there, and there's so much potential, and there's so much talent. We've got the talent on campuses to change this world if we just empower students. And that's what you guys are doing. I mean, props to you. I mean, that is so cool.
Yeah, thank you. And we're also teaching these students that you can listen to hip hop and it can be positive.
Yeah.
Like especially these young kids who they only hear what's on the radio and all the cursing. But to put it in schools and say, hey, you can rap about life and you can encourage people. It's an amazing thing. And I'm hoping it transcends to, even more, opens more doors and, people could start seeing hip hop in a positive light, because that's really what we're trying to do is educate people and use it in the most popular form.
That's just so cool because if we would just open ourselves up, I think, to some things like that. Like I got invited to an open mic night in a community not far. And it was in this kind of funky old, I don't know if it used to be a club, but this old building. And it was for high school students. And the theme was you can spoken word, you can rap, you can whatever. But here's the theme. What concerns you the most about what's going on in the world?
Yeah.
And I thought, I got to be there for that, and it was, I was one of the only adults there. There was a handful of parents. And I thought, where's the parents where's some of the other leaders and stuff? But I made it a point to try to get up to every person that got on that stage and just like, I went up to the guy that rapped and I said, hey man, you know, that phrase you kept coming back to, and he goes, you like that? I said, yeah, no, man, I dug that. That was really, and just that little bit of encouragement, you know, and I'm no big deal, you know, they don't know me from anybody, you know, but even the people that put it on went out of their way to thank me and say, hey, we appreciate you. We understand you had this organization that helps teens and young adults. I said, yeah, but thanks for taking time to be here. But I don't know why you wouldn't want to be there. Yeah. But it's interesting. Do you know what the number one thing that every single person on that stage said? My parents don't listen to me and adults don't listen to me.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, oh man, hurt me. You know, that's such a simple thing. Right. You know, but I don't know what it's like in Staten Island, but here in SoCal, you go to a restaurant, there's a family there. They're all on their phones.
Yes. Yeah. No, like up here too.
I mean, they're just all on their phones. They're not, you know, and it's like, you're not even communicating. Mom, dad, put the phone down, you know. Turn it off. You know, father-daughter dances are on their phone while they're supposedly dancing with their little girl. No, man, that ain't right. That just ain't cool. That doesn't work. You know, that little girl needs you and wants you, and that's what you're going to do to her. I mean, I'm sorry. That just don't work at all. Now, what was your motivation? Kind of switch gears here for a second. What was your motivation to get a degree, a master's degree in special ed?
Yeah, so my youngest daughter is on the spectrum. She's autistic, and then changed my entire life. We all know what autism is to an extent, but I never, you know, not to be ignorant. I just never needed, or you know, I didn't know. I didn't look past it. Like, so when she was diagnosed, I was like, how is this happening to me? Like, how is this? I never in a million. Who thinks that, right?
Exactly.
So once that happened, right? So I was living my life, obviously, just taking care of her, and then just learning so much about autism. And then I said to myself, I want to do more of this. I don't want to just help my daughter. I want to learn more about special needs. I want to learn about other disabilities. And I look up to so many teachers who are in special education, and they're doing it because they truly want to help these kids, and they want to make them feel like they're included.
Yes.
Like you talk about, you know, everybody talks about being inclusive and all this, but, you know, are we really? I don't know. So, like I said, I've been doing music for a while. That's my only job, you know, and it comes and goes. And so money-wise, it wouldn't hurt us. So that's why I wanted to go back to school and just set another path for me and see where that leads. And, you know, it all kind of connects, because even being a teaching artist, I'm teaching students in school about hip hop. I believe that as artists, we are teachers on stage, because we're on stage. Like all these rappers, whether they're saying good or bad things, they're teaching the people in the crowd, whether they're teaching them good things or bad things. They're the educators on the stage, and people are looking up to them. And so I feel like, not to sound corny, but I kind of already have that thing where I'm like, I know how to talk to people. I know I want to educate them and help them and stuff. Instead of being on stage, you're in a classroom. So, and since I got my foot in the door with the whole teaching artist thing, I said, hey, let me put 2 and 2 together and do it on the special ed side. So I'm trying to help others, you know, beyond my daughter, and just seeing the things that she goes through, and the students in her school. She's in a specialized school right now, and it's so encouraging to see the help that they're getting, but it's also so heartbreaking to see the things that they struggle with. And
it really is.
You're not going to know what they struggle with unless you're at those schools. And it's just really, it's very heartbreaking, and I feel so bad.
I can't even imagine, you know, that being there, you know, to really see what's going on. I mean, I think I have a better understanding than the average person. And we've developed some friendships in somewhat of a broad disability community here in Southern California. And interestingly enough, especially with actors, because there's a number of them. And then, you know, you think, well, here's this person, you see them on a TV show, you see them in a film, whatever. And then when you hear them talk about the struggles they're going through, you know, it's crazy. In fact, we've got to make more of an effort. They ask us, several of them have asked us, if we can't start putting, you know, closed caption on all of these shows, because they said there's not a whole lot of encouraging content out there for people to watch, and we did it to one show. The problem is it's a very time consuming type of thing to do, because you can't just hit a button and it automatically does it. You hit the button, so to speak, and then you got to go back and you got to correct different things and punctuation and stuff like that, which I didn't know. So we're actually trying to get more interns with us because that's something they could work on.
Right.
I mean, it sounds terrible, sounds tacky, but it's not as much of a hit on our budget because they're learning and we're producing some content for a group of people that my understanding from one of the actresses that we've had on several times is that those with disabilities are the most bullied on campus. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I haven't seen it personally, but I mean, I've read the statistics, especially taking my master's and all the classes I've taken. I mean, it's very high, and I worry so much about that with my daughter. And because a lot of people like my daughter, they can't speak. My daughter can speak. It's just she's very limited with her verbal skills. So something can happen to her at school, and I won't even know. Like,
you
can just tell through her mannerisms if she's in a bad mood, and then you got to investigate. But I'm just hoping because she's in a specialized school that how could she get bullied there? But anything's possible. You know, I don't know if the teachers, you have no clue, but the school is amazing, and she comes home happy every day. So
that's good.
I'm just, basing it off of that.
That's real. That is very cool because you worry about. It's like you. I worry about this generation.
Yeah.
It's like things seem to be unraveling. I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist. Because of my faith. But you look around and you say, man, we've got to help these kids. With their purpose, with courage, with understanding who they are, and it's easy to say, no matter what anybody else says, this is how you should feel. Well, we got to we got to empower them with the tools to be able to do that. And then the challenges with those that are disabled in whatever form or fashion. Boy, I appreciate the way you meet these challenges. Great example, really to a lot of people. I'm glad we're having this conversation because it's just, I think we try to ignore it sometimes. Like if we ignore it, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
What I'm going through now, well, I may or may not get through it, but it'll probably go, it'll be okay somehow, some way. But we need help. We need hope. We need that peace that gives us the strength to continue on.
Right.
Now, let's go back to music for a sec here. Your fourth album is Flying Cars, correct?
Yes.
Now, that hit number 14 on iTunes, hip hop, and that was independent, right? That's after you left the label.
Yeah.
Okay. So it hits number 14 on iTunes hip hop charts. Are you working on some new music?
Yeah, so within the last year, I've been putting out a lot of singles. So I don't know, I must have put out 7 or 8 in like the last year. Yeah, I mean, I have enough songs to put an album out, and I just didn't because I just feel like with the current state that music is in, I mean, people are still dropping albums, but I just feel like people's attention spans are getting lower and lower.
Yep.
And it is cheaper just to put out a single, but I think with all the singles I put out, it probably equates to an album at this point. I just feel like, I'm just going down the singles route. Musically, I kind of don't know where I'm going with it right now, just because school has been occupying my time a lot, and just being a mom in general and stuff. So I'm still working on music. It's just I don't have a plan as to whether I'm just going to make an album or an EP out of the stuff I dropped, because I do still have stuff that's coming out. I'm just going the singles route. That's really what I'm doing right now.
Well, that's that's what I hear about the industry. One of the sessions I did not too long ago was it was all singles.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's kind of the way of the industry right now. But again, you look at others who are selling albums like, in ginormous amounts.
Yes.
And then, of course, I think I've noticed people going more to an EP, which is shorter than an album. But music hasn't lost its effect on us. We all have different tastes in music.
Yeah.
I know that's one thing that I try to do is listen to a lot of different styles. One of my other side hacks is giving drum lessons. And I will always find out from my student, okay, what's that genre that just makes you just feel alive and, that kind of stuff. But then I will take them on a journey and say, okay, now I want you to go listen to a genre that you may not even like, period.
Right.
But in this case, I want you to listen to the drummer in that song, and I want you to replicate what you heard, and it's working. I'm seeing it's a slow process, but I'm seeing them, and it's not so much developing a taste in music, but I think you can learn something. I mean, the first music teacher I ever had, not band teachers, but taking private lessons when I was in high school, that was one of the big things he said is learn something from every drummer you hear.
Right.
And, if you start having that attitude, it becomes a learning experience. And I think it makes you a better player.
Right.
And I think it makes you a broader person, too, when you can learn to appreciate music. Even, I've been, 29, 30 countries now. And, of course, I gravitate to the music when I get there. And I want to, what is the music of this region? What is the music of this state?
Right.
What is the music, that kind of a thing.
Right.
And I think it's made me a broader person. So it's, that's cool. I'm glad you're still working on more music. You've got a lot to say. Have you changed topics at all in a sense? Because, of course, they're all independent. So are you just hitting different issues, different things in the singles?
Yeah, I mean, I always try and change it up a little bit. My main message is kind of always there. It is faith-based. It's positive music. It's uplifting stuff. So it's always going to center around positive things. I mean, even struggles that we go through that may not be on the positive side, but I always try to have a message at the end. So
cool.
I mean, I'll never go away from that. It's always going to be about life struggles, things that we go through, but finding hope through it. So
well, it seems like with hip hop, there is a need for more of that.
Yes.
Something that's positive, something that lifts you up. Right. Something that doesn't ignore, because I don't see the point in ignoring things that are happening, situations, issues, struggles, challenges, whatever it happens to be.
Right.
But when you can address those and then come back with something positive and that, like you said, that message at the end, I think that's awesome. Well, hey, how can people follow you on social media?
Miss Heesun Lee, MS Heesun, Heesun Lee, Lee. Instagram, YouTube is Heesun Lee Music. Facebook is Heesun Lee Music. And if you want to go on my website, it's just Heesun Lee, HeesunLee.com. So pretty much just Google Heesun Lee and my stuff will come up and you can easily find me.
Thank you for taking time. I know you're busy, with a family and Thrive. And I mean, I love the stuff you're doing. Maybe we can collaborate on something sometime.
Yeah, I'd love
that would be very cool, talk about that. But thank you. I mean, I appreciate you taking the time and staying up late too.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll do it again. Thanks.
Yes.
We'll be in touch.
Okay.
All right.
This is Utalk Radio.